Hey everybody, my name's Ed. Okay, we're gonna have another trade review. This was gonna be Scalped Value 1, Indian Country, written by Jason Aaron and the artist by R.M. Gira. This is pretty much the series that put Jason Aaron on the map. It's not his first professional comic book work, but it was very critically acclaimed, and it pretty much made him a superstar writer in the comics industry. It's pretty much a crime story set on an Indian reservation. It's almost like, I don't know, The Shield set on a reservation or something. The premise is the main character is Dashel Bad Horse. He's left the Indian reservation for a long while, like over 10 years or so, and he comes back. He has this kind of reputation as being a hard ass and a badass and a hothead, and because he's gotten into some fights with with the local rustabouts and whatnot, the kind of head of the local crime organization decides to have him work for him, but he has him work for him as a sheriff. And it's basically, we find out that really what's going on is Bad Horse is really an undercover FBI agent. He's there to get the goods on the mob boss. There's also things in here involving his mother, who he's estranged from. She's a former political radical from the 70s. She still tries to do activism, but it looks like it really doesn't do a whole lot of good or success these days. And we get to see the mob boss's relationship with the mother, Bad Horse's relationship with his mother, his relationship with the mob boss's daughter, plus there's a couple of other shady FBI guys involved here as well. For the most part, I like it, even though it's got elements that we've seen before. Like I said, the whole thing with the young man who leaves town, then he comes back home, and now he's got to clean things up. It's a pretty, I guess it's a standard thing you see in a lot of action movies. You see it in a lot of dramas, more serious dramas. You see it in cheap exploitation flicks. You see it in anime. So I would say it's, I wouldn't say it's a cliche, but it's, maybe it's closer to being an archetype, like I said, the idea of the young man who goes back and then comes back home. I kind of think, having said that, while I think the main character is kind of interesting, he's also kind of a stock badass, he's got a death wish. He can take on, any group of guys, any group of armed men. He can just tear through them all, and everybody's afraid of him. And he's got one expression. He's always grim and serious. But I would say I actually think the characters that are a little bit more developed are, like I said, the mob boss and the main character's mom. They seemed a little bit more complex. We find out that they actually share history together, and I actually like seeing how that kind of unfolded, or how we got to know a little bit more about them through various flashbacks and then their interactions and things like that. Another character that I think is sort of interesting, is probably the weakest character, is the daughter of the mob boss. She's kind of she's married, but she's really promiscuous. We see her sleeping with, all these different random guys. It appears that Bad Horse and the daughter have a thing for each other. And okay, I can sort of see it. But like I said, those characters actually come off as a little thin compared to a couple of more supporting characters. So there's interesting things going on here as far as I don't know how I want to word this. As far as depictions, representation, maybe I want to say it that way. It's set on an Indian reservation, and I may or may not be the person to judge this. It seems like there are a lot of stereotypes here, but it doesn't come across that way, if that makes any sense. I mean, they're on the reservation, there's all this violence, there's all this uh, there's all this sex. Everybody's living in poverty. Everybody's drinking. And it's kind of like I said, all those kind of old stereotypes about poverty on Indian reservations. It doesn't, like I said, it doesn't quite seem like it comes off stereotypical. So I guess that's a good thing. But somebody who's Native American might have a different opinion on that. Also, the whole thing with like I said, the promiscuous daughters is really, like I said, so far it's kind of thin. She's probably the worst part of the comic. Not because I disapprove of her lifestyle, but it just seems like the character really isn't developed. At least so far. I know there's several volumes, but in this first volume, she really just comes off as this person who's there to have sex with people, and that's it. So the art, I would say, is serviceable. It's not bad. It's not great. It's just, it works for what it's trying to do. The coloring really works for me as far as the different dark tones, the oranges and browns, the blacks, the blues, and how they're used to, like I said, convey tone and mood and whatnot. The figure drawing, the layouts are decent too. I like the storytelling and panels. Very clear. They switch it up so it's a fair amount of variety. For the most part, I'm not confused about who's who or where they are or what they're doing. So that's great. The figure drawing, as you can see here, is a little bit more of a mixed bag for me. It's gritty, it's sketchy, it's a little bit scratchy, and again, I think it works. I mean, I think what I want to say, I think it's appropriate as far as the story matter is concerned, but it mostly works when characters are just kind of standing around talking to each other. There are scenes when people are supposed to be in motion or something's supposed to be really kinetic, and things look kind of stiff and awkward. It works a little bit less for me there. There's a scene later on where a couple of characters are supposed to be having sex, and instead of looking passionate, it's just the most gangly, awkward looking thing I've ever seen. So okay, so Scalped #1 by Jason Aaron and R.M. Gira. Interesting setup. Side characters so far are a little bit more developed than the main characters, but I'm hoping that'll change. Art's decent, not great, but okay for what it is. Pretty serviceable, workmanship-like, if that makes any sense. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. All right, so I guess that's it. Thank you very much for watching. You guys have a great day.